Welcome to the Mentorship podcast, your raw look at the hospitality industry, brought to you by SHC.
I am back for my next live with Mr. Shawn Soole, my mentor, my big brother from Canada. And we're going to just talk about Canadian hospitality, Kenyan hospitality, and we're just going to catch up and see what's new, what's happening, what should we learn. Yeah. Good to see you, Shawn.
What's happening, buddy?
Good morning.
How are you?
How are you doing, buddy? Good morning.
Good. Getting my day started.
It's good morning there, right?
It is. It's 9 a.m.
It's a good evening. It's good to see you. How have you been? Is it Saturday, right? Is it Saturday, right?
What was that?
Or Friday? Is it Saturday or Friday at your place?
Yeah, it's Friday 9 a.m. here.
Friday. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I was thinking it's Saturday 9 a.m.
Time changes, time difference.
Time difference. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been actually been really, really busy. I've been busier than I was before, which is a little scary. But I've been doing 5 podcasts a week as well. So 5 podcasts a week for post shift as well as a few other things. So I've been busier than I was before. So I'm looking forward to going back to the new normal. But I think I'm going to be still very, very busy.
I got a time, like I've been listening, and yeah, I mean, it's good. I guess you inspired me to also do the same and just do like different things around podcasting and learning. It's always good to learn a new lesson. Even if I studied media, it was like a new thing for me. I've always struggled to understand, digital media in the context of Twitter versus, all these things, and just trying to create content that works for the different platforms. And yeah, it's a learning curve, I must say.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of Zoom chats and then streaming those Zoom chats onto like Facebook and everything. Like it's been a fun learning curve, but it's been a learning curve nonetheless.
Okay. And who has been your favorite guest so far?
Oh, you can't make me say that live. That'll start a fight. Next time I'm at tables or something, someone's going to come up to me and is like, "What do you mean I wasn't your favorite guest?" I think every guest that I have brings something a little bit different. Today's episode, which actually just went live now, is with Simon Ford from Ford's Gin.
Yeah.
That was a really great episode because we talked about drinks entrepreneurship a lot, which you and I both know. We're both entrepreneurs. We both know how hard it is. But then I have fun episodes like with Ivy Mix and Lynette Marrero from Speed Rack, and every episode brings something brand new.
Definitely. I mean, every speaker is different and always like a learning curve to learn something different from either their professional experience or just how they are handling this situation going forward, which seems to be a situation we don't even know when it's going to end. Like we don't have any exact solutions that are going to actually be sticking around.
No, not right now. In Canada, we're reopening now. Like this week, we're actually reopening bars and restaurants this week. But a little bit differently. We're doing like reduced capacity, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff with it, which is way better than most countries and cities are dealing with. Like New York, I think, is October. London is July. So we're pretty lucky here in Canada that we're a massive country with not a lot of population. So we've been lucky enough that we've cut the curve really quickly. But when things go back to normal, I don't know when that's going to happen.
How's been the impact of Corona in the major cities in Canada? Just to get an idea of the situation.
It's been the same as where it has been for everywhere else. Like it's been a difficult thing. We've completely shut down most restaurants and bars since March. It's been the same impact as everywhere else. But as I said, like we're just lucky that in Canada we've had probably the shortest lockdown period than anywhere else in the world because we are so spread out. Like you really think about it, our two main provinces, British Columbia and Alberta, have the same population as New York. Has 5.3 million people across like a huge area of land. So we've been fortunate enough that we've been able to sort of flatten the curve way quicker than most cities and most countries have been able to.
I guess the reason I also get to ask is because in North America, and when I mean North America, the larger US, when you hear Trump speak, I don't know if he has a right mindset for just dealing with things, or he's just, I don't know, like he seems to be in a headspace that is totally different.
He is definitely he's definitely got his own set of rules and his own set of rules and his own mentality towards towards everything. Like, it's just not during COVID. It's been since the day one of this thing. And I don't usually talk about politics because that just gets you in trouble as well. But some of the stuff he says is ridiculous. But the problem is that he has some pretty diehard followers that are the ones protesting the lockdowns and doing protests about all that sort of stuff. So
I mean, so like, because we don't. So on a normal day, we don't even get to talk about these different topics, whether it's politics, race, and stuff like that. And now with the whole corona, everyone has to come together and collaborate and think in one mindset in terms of let's move progressively together. So some of those things that we were quite unafraid to talk about, we should start talking about and thinking of ways to actually progress beyond the stigmatization of different things. And I feel that is actually very important because sometimes we don't talk about it. So for example, in the industry, most guys don't even talk about mental health or mental wellness because they fear the stigmatization that comes with that. Like, if I speak, will people look at me and think, oh, I'm weak or something like that? And it's really important because in the end of the day, we are all in this boat together.
I agree. I think now I've been preaching this since day one. I think it's an opportunity for our industry to show our vulnerabilities, because the hard thing we do is, like, you have a bad meeting with your accountant, or you're looking over your books, or you paid a bill that you couldn't afford as an owner and operator, but then you've still got to put a big bright smile on your face and work the floor. Same thing, like you've had a fight with your girlfriend and you have to come to work and smile and be behind the bar and be like happy for everybody else. And I think now, especially, is the time to show our vulnerability for our guests, our general public, and the people who come to our restaurants, and really show how difficult it is to be in this industry, because it is a difficult industry to be in because we're people pleasers. By definition, in our DNA, we're people pleasers. We want to please absolutely everyone before we please ourselves. And so I think that's the hardest thing when it comes to hospitality, and we need to show vulnerability, and it takes down that stigmatization of mental health. But I think showing vulnerability right now is probably the strongest thing we could do as an industry to be better on the other side of this.
Definitely. So talking about that, what has been your lowest moment during this time?
I have my ups and downs, but I think for me personally, this time hasn't changed too much for me. My life and in general has always been, career-wise, has always been disruptive. Like, whether it's me disrupting or someone's disrupting my life. So for me, from the get-go, there was that first week where everybody was like, what are we going to do? And then after that, it was just pivot. So for me, I have my low days regardless. Like, yesterday, to be honest with you, I had a rough day yesterday. Just, I'm on a few boards for charities and a few things like that. So it gets really exhausting and very mentally draining to constantly giving, and feeling like you're never going to get anything in return. So yesterday was a rough day for that. But I think overall, it's no different to when we're in our regular time. Just because as an entrepreneur, as a hospitality, like being a hospitality entrepreneur is like doubling down on pushing yourself too far and being a people pleaser, like hospitality and entrepreneur, it's the two.
Exactly. for me, what has been the most important lesson for me during this moment is to actually know who I am with all this going on and what I would love to see next. Because when you think about it, everyone just started out the same, but then for me, it's like I'm getting better and better. It's like this storm has just made me way much better than when I started.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, and I guess for me, that has been a good exposure, because most people are crumbling under the pressure of the corona. I am just like, I'm actually having the best time of my life. I'm gardening. I'm watching.
But
I get to.
you pivoted, and that's the thing is like you can, yeah. But this is just another curveball in life. Like COVID is just another curveball in life. Like if it wasn't COVID, it'd be something else. Like I know you've had a few health issues. Like this is just another hurdle, another roadblock that you either pivot around or jump over. And so if you sit there and wallow in self-pity, then you're going to wallow in self-pity regardless of what comes and hits you next. You know, or you can step up, pull your pants up, and like all the free courses that are out there right now, you can do tons of free training. Like I know you've been free courses. Like every 3 hours, I see a new certificate that you've posted that you've just got a new certificate or something. So
what's interesting? What's interesting is that so when the whole corona started, everyone was busy with all these free courses, and I literally went 6 hours every day trying to finish these courses. So then after 3 weeks, I was done with the courses. I was like, what next? Then I'm like, I better get started, I better get started doing lives. And so it started out as a joke. I was like, I'm just gonna do one. Then it became 2. Then it became 3 or 4. Then at some point I was like, man, I'm doing too many lives in one day. I need to tone it down. Then it went I'm just gonna have 3, 2. Then after some point I'm like, I'm done reading. I'm tired of reading because I read and I'm like, and I was like, I need to go to the garden. And I remembered I have a garden here. Why don't I just go back and start planting things? So meanwhile, the monkeys, so I stay in a place where monkeys actually just come across, because the national park is 5 or 6 kilometers away from my place. So the guava tree was in season. And so they started eating the guavas. So I sit down and I spend days just looking at these monkeys. And it was interesting because now I've literally gone from one thing to another. And at this point, I'm just like, whatever life is bringing, I'm good. If it's going to bring monkeys, good. If it's going to bring me to garden, good. I'm just moving with the pace. Yeah.
Exactly. But that's just the thing is I like the mentality of if you're going to come out better than you went in. If you come out this other side of this after 3 months of lockdown, being the exact same person you were when you went in, you've missed the point of what you could actually have achieved during this whole freaking time.
Exactly. And I guess that's also because for me it has been, and I guess I had my low moments, but every time I had those low moments and I did a live, I reminded myself that there needs to be a lot of positivity coming out. If I was low for any second, I need to keep the spirits of other guys up, because I'm someone who likes to see people happy. I guess this is something with hospitality. And so I started doing the lives as a way to keep guys happy and keep guys sane and kind of bring a bridge to guys. And then at some point I was like, wait a minute, am I happy myself? You look back and you're like, am I really happy, or what am I exactly doing? So then a couple of days I was like, wait a minute, I actually enjoy this, because one, I'm getting to collaborate with people that I have always wanted to collaborate with. 1. 2, I'm like, I know for a fact that this is creating opportunities for me and for other people outside there after Corona, because I'm like, the next time Corona is done, I'll probably be on a flight because of the push I've been doing. I'm like, you know what? Right now, I can't even think of Nairobi as a market, or Uganda or Kenya as a market. I'm like, now, if anyone wants to just send me anywhere, bring it on. I'm like ready, just whatever it is. Too much study.
And when you've been doing your live streams, how have you just been reaching out and cold calling the guests you've had on?
I think some are people I just like, they see my live and then they're like, can we do a live together? And I'm like, okay, fine. I don't mind. Like, yeah. And then the others, I'm like, I would like to interview these guys. And so like, for example, Eric Lawrence, I was like, I really need to interview him. So I spent like an entire week. Then I had to write an email. Finally, he responded like, phew. And he was like, can we do the live? I'm like, yeah. And so when we did the live, I was like, yeah, that was good. But I guess the one who I didn't have a problem interviewing was Dale, because Dale wants to come to Kenya. Maggie wants to come to Kenya. So many people actually want to come to Africa. So it has been easy for me because everyone wants to come to Africa. And I will be like, I want to take Africa to the world.
And what's your driving force behind that?
Driving force? I love it. Like, I love the industry. I love the industry. I love the people in the industry. I love the way we have all come together and we are one big happy family. And the weirdest fact is, I guess you have a kid, right? So you have a kid and you married. So for me, I'm married to this industry. Like, this is my baby. This is it. This is where it all gets done. And so anytime I get to share the joy or just the conversation, I know that it will get better for the next person, just the way it gets better for me. That's way more important, because I've realized that we need to get out of this place together and we need to get out of it better than we left. So if it means me calling you and me checking up on you, me reminding you, me making jokes or asking queer questions like politics or whatever it is, I'm going to do that because there's life outside there. I mean, if I have to make you come to Africa to see monkeys, I will do that because life is more than just everything else. Like, it's never that it's never that serious. You know, like that's my thought process in life. It's never that serious.
It's a good thought process to have.
Yeah, because you think about it, and I was actually watching. So this week I spent a better time watching Lion King, Hakuna Matata, and yesterday I spent a time watching Gods Must Be Crazy. And I was like, you know what? Even with all this that's going on, there is life. Remember, there is life outside there. Like, life is just a comedy. Because we will all get out of this, whether we like it or not. How we get out of it solely depends on how your mind is, how positive you are.
I've been helping a lot of clients through all this, and I think positivity is the best way of looking at it, because everybody's in the same boat. It's not like anyone has a leg up on anybody else. Everybody's in the exact same position. Some have been really good. Some have been still very, very negative. So it's been interesting to try and deal with people's perceptions of all of this and moving forward, which we're gonna, everything will bounce back by the end of the year for us in Canada, I think.
But also for me, what's more important is that it's like this whole situation has made you realize who your friends are, and especially it can be in the industry, it can be outside, and because of this, of the lives I've done, like the number of people I've now gotten to be friends with, or our friendship has become stronger, is interesting, because I get to look back and I see how many people I've interviewed or how many people we have had to do like 3 or 4 lives, and I'm like, why? Sometimes I actually question myself why, because I'm not a superstar. I'm not the biggest person, you know, but when I think about it, I've had conversations with Maggie 4 times. I've had conversations with Capri 3 times. I've had conversations with Lisette, and I'm supposed to even be having a conversation with her again. And I'm like, well, what are we going to talk about? Because 1 hour is too much to talk about everything. And now that we've talked about, I'm like, that's why we do it.
Who is Rhumboat Retreat?
Lisette Davis.
What am I looking forward to next week? It is Friday. What am I looking forward to next week? I think I'm just looking forward to being able to go to my favorite coffee shop and hang out with some friends and sort of get back to the regular normality of business life. I'm still doing, what am I doing a week? I'm doing nine videos, 4 or 5 live streams. Next week goes back to normal, so I'm only doing 2 podcasts next week, Tuesday and Friday. So my schedule is going to open up a little bit, but I got some big contracts coming up that I'm working on right now. So next week is going to be fun. Every week's a good week.
Every week is interesting. I actually like, what's interesting for me is that I get to work on the guests I want to interview on Friday. Like at the end of Friday or Saturday morning, that's when I start thinking about who I would want to have back or who I would want to get on for the next week. And sometimes I'm like, there are guys who actually just want to come back again, which is why I get to do this, because we get to share something much more than just a conversation.
Rumboat Retreat is asking a lot of questions. The name of my podcast is the Post Shift Podcast. It's I'm up to 157 episodes as of today. I've done 157 episodes in a year and a bit.
Awesome.
So
what has been
you should be turning these interviews into a podcast. You could have a podcast, a Rhum Bishop podcast with this audio. This is easy. You save it, you scrape it, you've got yourself a podcast done.
Is there a way to download it from the IGTV series? And then is there a way to download it and turn it into audio from the IGTV series?
Yeah. Well, you turn your IGTV into YouTube. So just scrape the audio off your IGTV and you've got yourself a podcast. Like,
oh, awesome.
It's easy. Like,
something for me.
Even after this IGTV, I can personally download this interview and turn it into a podcast, which I will for next week.
Yes, let's do that.
One video you can turn into multiple things. Like you do one IGTV video like this, put it onto YouTube, scrape the audio, turn it into a podcast, and then you can roll your podcast out over time. Then you do a blog on your website and embed this video as well as the audio onto a blog so people can watch it. And then you post that blog onto Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Awesome. Learning something from me. Always learning. Like, you are super, super cool. Talk to me about what's new with Soul Hospitality concepts. Anything new coming up?
That's sort of the reason why I've been so busy. So I started a new company with a friend. So I've got 6 little hospitality-centric companies now. So SHC is like my consulting, design, hospitality design, restaurants and bars and stuff. Then I have Human Construct, which is my branding and logo design company, which is with a graphic designer friend of mine. Then I have Coalition Craft Co., which is my distribution agency. I distribute craft spirits from BC here in the province. Then I have Canadian Bar Store, which is my online bar tool store. Then I have, I'm missing one. What am I missing? What am I missing? I'm missing something. I can't remember what it is. Then I have an Exemplar LM, which is the liquor marketing company that I started a few weeks ago. So that's a lot of online marketing, social media marketing, that sort of thing. So I partnered up with a team of people who have been doing online marketing for about 15 years. And so we launched that. And so we're doing online marketing and social media marketing for distilleries mainly in BC and across Canada. And so, yeah, I bounce all that. And then I have BC Spirits.
I guess now that's a challenge I should pick up.
What's that?
That's a challenge I should pick up.
Well, there's, the thing is that I think you do the same thing. I see a gap in the industry somewhere or a deficiency. And I'm like, okay, well, I can fill that by finding the right people to fill it with me. So, while I might be the figurehead and like the driving force, I partner with the right people who can build it for me. And so that's the sort of thing that I sort of look at. So like the logo design and branding company, I saw a lot of these new branding, logo design, graphic design companies coming out, and they were just charging through the yin yang for logos and branding. And I was like, well, most distilleries in the province open with like $250,000 budget, which is nothing. And then they're charging $25,000 for branding. Like, you can't charge 10% of someone's budget for a bottle design. And so my partner and I, we got together and we started chatting, and he actually designed this tattoo for Little Jumbo back in the day when I opened my first restaurant. And so we partnered up. And so I just find efficiencies where in the industry where I think there's gaps, and try and fill them the best I can.
I guess I'm lucky to say that we do the same thing. It's just that Africa is a big jungle, like the fucking jungle. Like anytime we get here, I think the thing that I tell guys is that remember it's a fucking continent. So we have like 54 countries. So it's never gonna be the same in one market over the other. And sometimes some markets are way more stubborn than the other. Some markets are literally controlled by the governments paying in the ass politicians, like, and it's just not even funny anymore, you know? And so I think those are some of the challenges that people don't actually get to see, especially for people who want to enter Africa. Because it's not just having a budget, it's also having a big budget or having people who understand or who know people. It's like, if you need to know this person to know this person to this, know this person, or otherwise you just fucked up. You just fucked. And because of that, I learned way early never to deal with government because I don't have their patience. Like I just can't. I'm a creative, and it sucks my creative juice. Like even putting on a suit or doing an official meeting, sometimes it's not my best appeal. You know, and I tell guys, you think that, and that's the thing, people might assume, you think my work is easy, wait until you get in my shoes, and then just walk in it a day. You'll be like, no. Because it's fucking crazy, you know?
But I think you do a good job. I think your focus should be being the king of Nairobi hospitality, which you're becoming. And the hard thing is,
I make it look easy. You see, the thing is, I make it look easy. But in reality,
everybody makes it look easy. The thing is, like, you got to not care about anybody else's opinion. Like I have people who think that I'm an asshole, or there's a whole there's people are gonna have their opinions. I always look at it as like every single person that meets you throughout your life, whether it be on here or in person or at an event or something, every single person that meets you has their own opinion and their own view of who you are. And
and I have to say that the biggest lesson I've learned being in the Rhum family is that you already have people who care about you, and they care about the quality of their rums, and that for me is enough. The rest, I'm like, it doesn't matter, so long as we are all talking the same language.
Exactly, and all you gotta do is you just gotta have the best opinion about yourself, because other people's opinions don't pay your bills. Like,
definitely,
other people's opinions don't pay your bills. Like, you pay your bills. Well, most of us try and pay our bills, but the thing is, at the end of the day, is like, I think you're always going to prove yourself higher, and I think especially in your position with being in Nairobi and in Kenya, is that you need to do so much more than everybody else to prove that you're better than everybody else, if that makes sense. Like,
yes, that does make sense. I guess that's give me a moment. My phone is, but I guess that's why I spend so much time studying. Like studying and putting back the content into the community, because yeah, listen, my phone was falling, but it's fine. But I guess that's why it's more important, because for me the bigger picture is to have more training here, to encourage people to think about the career from a very big or broader perspective, because it's okay to be a bartender, but for me, I would like to see more people get into the different spaces. So if it's about, for example, designing a restaurant menu or training staff or doing something like building up a distiller, I would like to see more of that happen. And when that happens, I'm actually super stoked, because I know there's a space for that. You know, like, let's start by local and promoting local, because that's also very important.
Well, I think you're doing it. The thing is, you've got to make yourself so elevated and so high up that people don't have any other choice but to hire you for your gigs. Like, if you want to, if in 5 years' time you want Nairobi's cocktail culture to be one of the best in Africa, then you just keep plowing ahead and make everybody else come up to your level and keep pushing yourself to reflect on what you want people to become, and then just make yourself the best. Like, I try my very hardest to be the best possible person I can be, best industry person I can be, because then people don't have a choice but to actually hire me or listen to my podcast or anything like that. So you rise above, and you have to continue to rise above. It's freaking exhausting. It's fucking exhausting.
It is.
And it grinds you, and it's hard. But the end result and the end reward is always higher than if you didn't.
I guess and that for me explains why I'm always multitasking. So I got the garden, which gets me to think about the botanicals and understand the different things around botanicals. Then, and the way the part is that I got into this industry by accident because I was studying journalism and psychology, and then I ended up being a food critic. From a food critic to a chef, from a chef to an event organizer. And I just kept experimenting and learning along the way. And I guess for me, I never really figured out what the end game was. Like when most people ask me like what my end game is, I'd be like, I want to keep learning. I want to keep growing because the goalpost keeps shifting.
Oh,
you cannot exactly.
You don't
So you
necessarily need to have an end game. Like, just saying that you want, like, I think you've always said you wanted Nairobi to be the best cocktail culture in the country.
Yeah.
That's an end game.
And you see, and that would be like the end game in the context of the cocktail culture. But then the biggest space of seeing Africa be a market that people can recognize and appreciate the quality of products they're working on or producing is something much more bigger than me. And anytime I get to talk to producers or get to work with producers, I'm honored because it makes me know that whatever I am doing is worth it. Like, the fight is not just for the cocktail culture here, but it's also for the producers who are doing a good job, knowing that they don't have as much budget or as much capital as they can. But then when they produce something good, I'll be like, this is what I'm fighting for, Not just.
I think you still got to keep the goals small though. Like, doing all of Africa is that's a big ass goal, But looking at Nairobi or Kenya, and have you ever talked to the Nairobi tourism body? Have you ever is there a tourism board for Nairobi?
Yeah, there is Magical Kenya.
Yeah, well, have you chatted to them about doing events and talking about local spirits and that sort of thing, and cocktails and stuff like that?
Yes, I did, and as I told you, it's one of those things that it's very interesting. And why do I say this? Because we had to rewrite the definition of the different categories, and it's still not yet fully approved because people still don't understand. Because we have like the old, like the way you have the old clique of guys who just grew up and found these things here. Then you have this clique of guys like us who jumped into it and learned a lot. So it's like trying to change. So one of the key things that I'm actually working on is changing the policies around the different categories.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so that's going to take a bit of time, but it's worth it because at the end of the day, that's something that is a governmental thing. It's a responsibility, but I'm coming in and saying, this is where we need to progress. This is the conditions for this and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And you're just going to keep plugging away. Like, this is the thing, is nothing's going to happen overnight. Like, I started 22 years ago. Like, I started 22 years ago. I'm turning 40 this year. And 22 years ago is when I started my career. So, and even then, like, the last 10 years have been more formidable for me than the 12 years before that. So, like, it's just one of those things that just, you have to plug away and you just keep grinding it out until you get the result you want. Like, you just can't give up.
There's no giving up. You know that for me. Like, I can't. Do I have an option? No, I don't. I'm in a place where options are not there. Choices are not there. My life has been set on a on a marathon that I need to run. It's like watching The Last Dance by Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, and reminding yourself that we all start somewhere, and the journey is that we gotta keep pressing on, and we gotta keep being, even if it means being the hardest or being the toughest or being the one that people don't like for now. We gotta keep doing it, because in the end of the day, it's not just about what we achieve on day one. It's what's the future like, what's the projections like, and that is important.
That's the thing. You just got to keep going, and you'll eventually get what you need.
In terms of Canadian hospitality, I know that Canada is a big friend to Kenya, very big friend. Always generous to do like tourism, I don't know, studies and stuff like that. When are you planning to visit Kenya? Yeah.
As soon as this is all over, I'd love to come in 2021. I'd love to come next year. I'm doing some. I don't think I'm really flying anywhere until about September. So I'm doing a few bar shows and a few sessions in September. But that'll be, I think I've got a 2 or 3 week period where I'll be doing that in September. So yeah, like I'd love to come to Kenya next year for the Kenya bar. Is it the Nairobi bar show?
The Nairobi bar show.
Yeah, I'd love to come to the Nairobi bar show next year.
I'm also actually talking about that. I'm planning to host. So we spoke with Caroline about doing a Tales on tour to Nairobi. Mm-hmm. And I know it's going to take a bit of time to get stuff done, but that's one of the key things that I'm trying to get to work on. But aside from that, the other thing that I'm getting to work on is a tour so for guys who actually want to come, either do a visit or invest in Kenya, we are planning a tour for guys who want to do that. And hopefully once the details are set, guys can also plan on it. Because the ideal was to do a pre-visit tour where guys can come, visit the coffee farms, the tea farms, interesting places, just to kind of scout and get familiar with this place.
It's a good call.
Yeah. And I guess that's because the experience has been amazing, especially for me, talking to you, talking to Pamela, and they're all like, we all want to come to Kenya. I'm like, I don't make get a flight. So I guess we all have to wait for Corona to end.
Yeah. When everything goes back to normal, I'd love to. I know that you've been on my back for a couple of months or a year and a bit now to come to Kenya, but I'd love to come next year.
But I'm also planning to. So I don't know if I told you this. So I applied for the Bar 5 program, and the list is supposed to come out end of this month, June, 1st June. Actually, on 1st June. And I'm crossing my fingers that I get the admission for the Bar 5 program, which means that I get to visit New York in January. Nice. If everything is running well. Yeah.
Congratulations. So you've got me here. What do you want to know?
What do I want to know? How is those? Okay. What's the cocktail culture like in Canada? What are guys taking?
What's the cocktail culture like here? It's amazing. Yeah. Like the cool thing is with Victoria, Vancouver, Toronto, Halifax, we have a lot of big city hubs that have amazing culture. I think it's one of the best cocktail cultures in the world. In the grand scheme of things, I just don't think enough people come here to Canada to get us on the world's best 50 and tails and stuff like that. But no, I think the cocktail culture here is one of the best in the world. Just again, we're a massive country with a small population. It's very difficult to. It's a big spread out country. It takes about 8 hours, 9 hours. Well, no, I should say that 7 hours to fly to Toronto, 9 hours to fly to Halifax, which is the other side of the other side of the country.
So
it's a big
just
country.
as you're talking about Halifax, is Halifax the what's the word? The fisherman's country. I mean city. That drinks a lot of.
It's what it used to be. It still is, but it's definitely growing as a city, and it's got a great cocktail culture there. Like I love the guys. I love the guys. So
okay.
Yeah, they're amazing over there. They're on the opposite side of the country that I am, on another island. I'm on an island and they're on an island. So far, far East Coast.
So I was speaking to someone from Halifax, but I really didn't get what fish they're having. Like, so what are the fishes that this guy? Because for you to be like eating fish every day, there must be like some variety or something like that.
I don't think it's too crazy. I think it's just like any other city. It's just that it's on the water. It's like Victoria. We have fishing boats and stuff come out of Victoria. So yeah, Halifax is just like another version of my city.
So I don't know if guys from Canada know this, but Kenya has the best coffee. So hands down.
Well, because
so if you
you
get
said
an Kenyan coffee,
we have our baristas here in Canada are really, really top notch. Like, we have really good coffee shops and baristas and roasters and all that sort of stuff.
But are you getting like coffee from Kenya?
I like coffee from Kenya. I drink coffee from Kenya.
Awesome. At least something from Kenya that you have in your shelf.
Something from Canada? All of that's from Canada. That's all craft spirits from BC.
Okay.
And that's not all of it. That's a substantial portion of it.
My question will probably be, how much of Kenya are guys in your area familiar with?
Sorry, what was that?
How much of Kenya are guys in your area familiar with? Like, if I just came and I didn't tell them I was from Kenya, what would probably be the...
You would stand out very, very quickly.
Will I be standing out because of the coffee or what?
Yeah, it would be the coffee would be the reason you stand out.
So Coffee Crew is saying Victoria is the place that has the highest per capita kind of cafes. Interesting.
Because we have a couple of roasters here that roast locally. We have coffee come in from South America, from Africa. Guatemala is a big one. People like Guatemalan coffee from South America. And then the Arabica from Kenya as well. So we have a good spread of
Awesome.
And a lot of the coffee roasters here in town, especially in Victoria, do a lot of single origin, single like field stuff. So you taste single origin Kenyans and stuff like that.
So here I'm going to say this for guys who are listening, or the Canadians who are listening. If any Canadian is coming to Kenya, I'll be glad to introduce you to Kenyan coffee properly. Forget the stuff that you get in the supermarket. I'll be glad to introduce Kenyan coffee.
I'm sure people will take you up on that offer.
Yeah. The other question I'll probably ask is, why is Appleton such a big thing in Canada?
Why is
Appleton such a big thing in Canada?
Importing?
No, like generally when you speak, for example, like about rum culture in Canada, there's always Appleton. Why is Appleton such a big thing for the Canadian consumers?
Imports? Is that what you're saying?
No, Appleton rum, the Appleton rum from Jamaica. Why is it such a big thing for Canadians? I
think we're a multinational country, and so we have such a widespread of different cultures, and every city is like a big melting pot. So I think there's people, but then you've also got really like old school people who love their brands and stick to their brands and that sort of thing. So importation of everything, we can't make everything here in Canada. Like, we can't make rum, although we have rum on the East Coast, but like we can't make a lot of things that we import. So craft spirits are making a big push with gins and vodkas and whiskeys and stuff like that. But when it comes to rums and stuff like that, most of it's imported from the Caribbean.
Okay.
Rumboat Retreat. I don't think we're seeing craft rums per se. I think there's always a call for better rum projects here in Canada. I think there's a big market for tiki guys and rum people. But actual projects, Foursquare is really big. I know Foursquare is huge. in the way of rums.
I mean, it has to,
But
like the thing is, Foursquare is on its own level. Like, I don't even understand why people compare Foursquare to some of the stuff in the market. Like, Richard Seal is just on another level. And even getting his products, let me just say, like, getting Foursquare is a privilege. Anyone who can get a Foursquare product is privileged because most markets don't have Foursquare. You know, whether it.
But I think that's everywhere in the world. I don't think anyone can really get Foursquare. Foursquare is rare and hard to get. Like I was lucky enough in Singapore last year when I was opening up venues in Singapore to get a fair few Foursquares, but Foursquare is still hard to get anywhere. Canada, USA,
And the
Foursquare is
thing
hard.
is, I was talking yesterday. I was talking to Shane, and he was saying that, in as much as it's hard to get Foursquare outside, that if I could come to Barbados, I could have as much Foursquare as I want. I'm like thinking, seriously, do you want me to take a flight, 8 hours to Ghana, and then another 10 or 15 hours to Barbados, like just to?
Do you want Foursquare? Then you have to do it.
I just want to. I guess I think for me it would be like if I was to go, because I know I'm planning to. I'll probably not go for Foursquare alone. I'll probably just want to tour the entire region and kind of get an understanding why Richard is what he is, because he's such a big persona, even in Barbados or across the Rhum society.
Yeah. Hey, got any more questions for me? I have work to do.
Any more questions? No, I can teach you Swahili. I could teach you Swahili.
You want it? I'm not going to learn Swahili now.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna teach you when you get here. How about that?
Whenever I go to a new country, I always learn the basic language, so that I always know hello, how are you, I'm well, thank you, can I get a drink?
So
One of the big
question:
ones.
who was one of your biggest inspirations when you started?
That's tough because when I started in the industry in Australia, there wasn't really, this is before the internet. Cocktail books, there wasn't as many cocktail books out there as there is now. The people that you sort of read about in magazines, you couldn't contact them. The email was still very, very brand new. So for me, I didn't really have mentors growing up when I first started coming to the industry. It was really self-teaching and learning a lot yourself. But then when I came to Canada, and of course Facebook and internet and all that sort of stuff became big, I would say probably one of my biggest influences has been Philip Duff. And so I met Philip in 2010 and worked with him on the Divine Connoisseurs program in France and a few other projects. And so I got to know him really well, and he has always been someone I can always text and see how I am and stuff like that. So yeah, like I wouldn't say that I had mentors starting out. I had mentors after I sort of started.
I don't know where you've gone. Where have you gone? I couldn't hear you because your Wi-Fi was bleeping up.
So yeah, so Philip Duff has been my mentor for the last 10 years, and I'm completely 100% grateful that I have an opportunity to call someone like Philip Duff, so someone like Philip as a mentor of mine. So I think overall though, like I've got mentors and peers that I've looked up to, but really at the end of the day, with the position I'm in Victoria and the position I'm in Canada, I wouldn't say that I have someone who has been a mentor. I've sort of tried to mentor myself and push myself further and absorb as much information and move forward for that.
Okay, awesome, interesting. The way, like for me, I guess I've always pushed myself, but also the fact that when I look back, when I started and even what I am today and probably what the future could hold, I guess it's always knowing that we have a responsibility to leave a legacy behind. And so it's always more or less planting seeds that will never get to sit under. So if you are thinking like a mustard tree or a mahogany tree, you plant a seed and you never get to see its fruits until probably like when you're 80 or 70. And so for me, that is really important because I want to be able to say that in the end of 50 or 60 years, that the industry is way better than I left it. Be it if I'm in Nairobi or Ghana, whatever city it might be. Because in the end of the day, looking back, that's what life is about. Always keeping people positive or keeping yourself positive, but growing in the context of knowing that you have left something behind that people can be inspired or just motivated to continue to do, because that is important.
I think if you always focus on legacy over anything else, everything else sort of falls in behind that. So
Okay.
focusing on legacy and like you said, like the seed in the ground, that I put for a young bartender, I won't probably ever see the full blossoming of that after they've achieved all the things that they want to achieve.
And so I guess that for me will what's the word I want to say? For me, I guess what's important, especially for the young guys who are listening, is that you have to remember the journey of 1,000 steps or 1,000 miles begins with one single step. You have to take that step and just be courageous and press on, because it's going to get tough, no lie. But in the end, the fruits are sweeter, and not just for you, but also for the people around, because it will give you that idea that you have to keep giving, you have to keep learning, you have to keep being a student, because you'll never be a master. I don't think any of us is a master. We just keep learning,
I agree.
Question. On the podcast, what platform for podcasting are you using?
If you want to start podcasting, it's pretty simple. I use a platform website called Anchor, and Anchor.fm, and that allows you to post on that platform, and then it spreads it out to 9 different podcast platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, so on and so forth. So that's how I sort of put it out. So you have one platform you upload everything to and put your description and stuff, and then that puts it out to 9 different podcast platforms.
Awesome. I will check. Like, you can send me the links and stuff like that, because I also want to work on it.
Yeah. I'll jump after this call. I'll jump on Facebook and send you through a whole bunch of stuff.
Awesome. I guess
Okay.
it's because I'm trying to. I think that the whole video is just, but I would like for more people to reach out and learn, and also get the feedback from people in different regions, because that again is also very important. I may not be in Singapore or in wherever, but then if they can listen and learn something, that is important. Really, really important.
Do you interview a lot of Kenyan bartenders, like on your live streams and stuff?
Pardon?
Do you interview a lot of Kenyan bartenders on the live streams and stuff?
When I do interviews, I typically don't judge who I'm interviewing. Like, I just wing it. Like, I wing between different people, different things. For me, it's always depending on what I'm trying to bring out in a particular day. So, for example, on Thursday is my Rhum day, so it has to be a conversation on Rhum, typically. Then on the rest of the other days, it's like different segments or different things. And that means I have to have a guest for that specific topic. It can be a local person or an international person.
I've got an idea for you, and we might do this. You know what? Fuck it. Let's do it now. If you do a rum tasting, don't do it with a guest, but do a rum tasting in English and Swahili.
Okay.
Like, do 2 episodes, pretty much the same dialogue, but do one in Swahili and one in, because I think that could be your hook with the podcast. Is you can do interviews, but if you're interviewing a Kenyan bartender, or a bartender who speaks Swahili, do it in Swahili.
Okay.
And push the market. And then if you do another, I think you mix it up. I think you do interviews in Swahili and in English. I think that you sort of pick and choose. And I think if you're going to do rum tastings and talk about a certain product, I think do it in both languages.
Okay.
I think do it in
Thanks
both
for that.
languages.
I'll take that into action. And for that, I want to say asante. Asante is thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. I appreciate it. I'll send you some stuff. But I think, yeah, I'm going to send you a couple of ideas I've got as well for you.
Okay, fine. Thank you,
Okay.
and stay safe. Say hi to the family for me.
I will, sir. Thank you very much.
God bless. Cheers.
God bless.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And that's it, everyone. Family, I hope you guys enjoyed. For any of you guys who wants to have a live with me next week, please get on my DM and let me know when we can do the interview, because I would like to do different types of interviews, and I'm doing this as an open call. I would love to hear from you guys what you thought about the segments for this week. Who are your favorite guests? Who did you enjoy having on the different segments that I had? And in case you haven't seen who I had for this entire week, please go to my IGTV series and have a listen. And all this content will be turned into a podcast for later release, which you can also keep sharing and learning. And just before I go, next week, this is a reminder, anyone who would like to interview me or anyone who will be honored to give me their time and let's just talk, let's make some cocktails, let's talk about wellness, let's talk about the industry, please DM me. I would love to hear from you guys, and please share your thoughts for me and the entire team from Kenya and the entire folks from here. I want to say asante sana, hakuna matata, na tutarudi wiki ijayo. That means thank you so much. I will see you guys next week. Stay safe. God bless. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for listening, Pose Shifters. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I really enjoy sitting down with friends and peers and just chatting about the industry and getting down to the nuts and bolts of what's really going on out there. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, everything on all the platforms. Just hit it up and I'll do my best to answer any queries or questions you have. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.